What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a 1P-LSD trip report for you. The title of this trip report is The Code of Reality and Small Talk with a Cat, and was submitted to Erowid in 2016 by the user Mukesh. With all that being said, let our story begin. In my still young life, I experienced several altered states of perception. For 1 year, alcohol was my substance of choice. After the realization that alcohol did not give me the revelations I was looking for, but just several health problems and broken friendships, I had a feeling that there must be something different, something better. I started researching about who would have guessed it, psychedelics. Quickly, I became interested in them, did research about every more or less common psychedelic for around a year, until the day came that I smoked my first bowl of cannabis. I knew that I was not interested in getting drunk after this day. Traditional psychedelics, like psilocybin-containing mushrooms, and LSD gained the most of my interest. Unfortunately, to this day, I wasn't able to get my hands on real LSD or mushrooms, so I searched for an alternative. Quickly, 1P-LSD, a research chemical which is theorized to be a prodrug, a molecule that gets converted to the real thing, in this case, the real LSD, inside the body, gained my attention. After some research, and reading every single trip report on the internet, I ordered a batch. I had 2 trips on 100 UG prior to this one. It was autumn, but a rather sunny, warm morning/day, with a few clouds in the sky. Living next to a small train stop, I anticipated the arrival of my partner on this journey, P. It would be her second 1P-LSD trip. She is a friend of mine, but a rather special person. I think behind her facade, she is very depressed because of the death of her father and the lack of love at her home. On the way from the train station to our setting, a 1-mile far-away garden which I own, we talked about how hyped both of us were for this experience and about her holiday she spent in England. As we arrived in the garden, an atmosphere of coming home began to grow around me. We cut the tabs in a small cabin in the garden, and each of us took 150 UG of 1P-LSD. With the tabs under our tongues, we began to put blankets on the grass and put some music on. We listened to psychedelic rock, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, Cream, and so on. 10 minutes in, sitting on the blanket, I started to get the familiar acid feeling. Slight shivering, subtle nauseous feeling in my throat, and a change in thought. As if the noise in my head had become weaker and weaker, and my thoughts became crisper and crisper. P and I talked about the effects of psychedelics, and it was interesting to interpret visual effects in different ways. After about 30 minutes, the music in the background became, I have no idea how to express it differently, 3-dimensional. As I closed my eyes and turned into the direction of the speaker, I could feel the sound waves coming closer to me and hitting my ears. This were the first moments in the trip in which I lost interest in my partner and paid attention rather to myself than the setting. After 40 minutes, still sitting on the blanket, I noticed slight visual distortion, and when I looked down, it looked a little like I was swimming around the grass on my blanket. I turned to the direction of the small cabin. It was painted green and purple, and it was rather old, so it was kind of broken and had much vegetation on it. After looking at it for 10 seconds, the visual effects became very strong. The details of the cabin started to swim around it like they were some kind of liquid. Seeing this made me very euphoric and impressed of the fact that my brain was capable of distorting my vision in such a detailed and complex way. Tingling, orgasmic sensations were present throughout all of my limbs, and this is the point at which I lost track of the concept of time. I looked up in the sky to see the familiar moving of the clouds, which I like to refer to as the clouds are hugging and kissing each other. So I decided to grab a chair, which I could lay on comfortably, and looked up until I got bored. The following part is the most profound and strong psychedelic effect I have ever had. Keep in mind that I have only experience with cannabis and 1P-LSD yet. I sat down on the chair, looked up, and what I saw was a cloud. The cloud split in 6 pieces and formed perfect, kaleidoscopic patterns. I was totally amazed by it, and the music sounded like it was coming out of the clouds at this point. I noticed that after a while, all the clouds in my field of view did this. After some time, I looked at the clock just to see how much time went by, and then I saw it. I had spent 3 hours of my trip looking up to the sky, and I realized I had experienced ego death in the last 3 hours. I was just a thought with no physical body, floating around in the sky. It felt amazing. I looked down and saw P just playing with the grass and looking closely at different plants. The world felt so peaceful, and everything was how it should be. Then I had a thought. I didn't believe it was my mind and visual distortion that made me see what I saw. I was, and I am convinced that the real world just looks like it looks on acid. With this thought in my mind, an extremely interesting interpretation manifested itself in my mind. All the patterns are the code. I know this sounds like something a lunatic would say, but listen. I believe God did not create the earth tree by tree, plant for plant, animal for animal. He rather invented a formula which produced many species and the life as we know it. Everything we are, we see, we feel, is written in a code. And the psychedelic patterns we see are the code which is on everything, in everything. We are basically part of everything. Hey reader, I see the patterns on me. I would see the same patterns on you. I am a part of you, and you are a part of me. When this realization struck during my trip, I felt the most extreme euphoria and awakening of my life. As the euphoria hit, a new kind of visuals hit. I looked at my arms, and what I saw was simply beautiful. It looked like the blood under my skin arranged itself in this symmetrical pattern I saw on surfaces earlier. And I saw the same kind of patterns on P. In her eyes, her face, her legs, just everywhere. I got a beautiful feeling of unity with everything that exists. Not having talked to P for 5 hours felt a little bit weird because we were so close to each other. Often when I looked at her, she looked like she was a split second away from going totally crazy and running away from me. She was really scared of me. I think she thought I was trying to kill her. She didn't talk to me even when I assured her that I won't harm her. I started to be scared of myself. Have I done something wrong? How did I scare her? What's going on? Thoughts started to spiral in my head, and I sat down on the ground. I feel a sting near my elbow. I don't pay attention to it. The pain becomes stronger and stronger. My fingers feel like they go numb. I start to panic. P, something bit me, and I think it's venomous. I thought I was poisoned and going to die at this point, and the pain was in my whole body. I tried to locate the spot where the pain comes from, which was impossible because of the visuals. Do animals exist in Germany which can sting and kill me? I asked myself. No, I told myself. It was most likely just a wasp, P said. After I realized there was nothing to be scared about, the pain in my body became weaker and weaker. It eventually went away. It's getting darker as I enjoy the visuals and the sunset. P and I decide to leave the garden and walk back to the train stop. Walking weird. It felt like I walk, but I don't actually move forward. This didn't bother me much. Still some visuals at this point, patterns in grass and trails. I hug P before she sits down in the train and drives away. I decided to stay out a little bit before going home to my mother. I walked around in my neighborhood until I see a cat. Due to the patterns, the cat looked like an extraterrestrial being of some sort. The cat asks me, "Why do you understand me?" I stop. Did the cat just talk to me? It was not like I could hear the voice of the cat, but rather, I felt what the cat was trying to tell me. So in thoughts, I responded, "Yeah, I guess. How is the life as a cat?" "Not too bad, but I don't want to live in the city anymore." "Why?" I asked. The sounds of the cars and the noise coming from the houses makes it so hard for me to hunt. That sucks. Suddenly, I feel a second cat rubbing its head against my legs. It's a black one. Okay, cats. Maybe we will see each other again. I have to go now. Bye. I went home in total disbelief of what just happened. It was a beautiful day. All right, everybody. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your 1P-LSD experiences down in the comments. Check out the other playlists on my channel. And I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.